Hello, friends. So I finally found a few minutes to share my diagnosis journey with you. I think it's important to share those stories. I know that when I heard and watched videos of women and heard their stories of how they got diagnosed and symptoms and procedures and all those things, it really helped me. It helped me feel not so scared and confident that everything would happen as it needed to and that it would be okay. So they were really, really helpful to me, especially when everything was so uncertain. So I'm going to share my story. And this is just the beginning, obviously. We haven't started any treatment or anything yet. I have doctor's appointments over the next week with surgeons and oncologists, and so hopefully we will have a plan of attack and know a little bit more about what's going to happen next. So but for now, I just thought I would share how I got diagnosed. It was really about February, March, April, almost 2 months of tests and waiting. Waiting is the hardest part. Waiting and waiting and more waiting. The uncertainty and the waiting is awful. It's awful. I can tell you that. That was the hardest thing. So February 2nd, I found a spot in my left boob. And immediately when I felt it, I knew it did not belong there. In fact, I think I said out loud, "What the hell is that?" It just did not feel like anything I had felt before, and it didn't belong. And when I tried to feel it and pushed on it a little bit, it was sore, like a bruise, like it was tender. And you just have that gut feeling like that is just not right. So I was due for my annual exam anyway, overdue probably, and I had never had a mammogram. I had been told I should probably have one. I am 40, gosh, how old am I now? 45, 46. I'm 46 now. So I probably should have already had one, but I didn't. And so I decided it was time for my annual exam. So I called up, new doctor though. So I had to have a telehealth appointment first for new patients. So I told my doctor about the spot that I had found, and she said, well, it's probably just a cyst, very normal for your age, and we'll just order, you'll have a mammogram and an ultrasound just to make sure it is what we think it is. We think it's a cyst. I said, okay, well, I won't worry then. Another week, because now I can schedule my actual appointment. So another week, and I go in for my annual exam on February 28th. So now it has been almost a month. And as soon as she does the breast exam at my annual visit, she says, "When did you schedule your mammogram?" I said, well, they scheduled me for March 21st. So this is February 28th, and my mammogram wasn't scheduled till March 21st. She says, "Why so long?" No, she says, "Can you go today?" And so I knew that my initial "what the hell is that" reaction was correct, and that something was up. So she had her office staff call a different location and got me in a couple of days later. So I had a mammogram and ultrasound on March 3rd. Now, let me tell you, I was a little nervous going into mammogram because I have heard so many women in my life talk about how painful it is to smush your boobies. And oh my God, the squeezing hurts so bad and it's awful. It was nothing, you guys. It did not hurt at all. It was no big deal at all, like really. So if you're having a painful time, I don't know if it has to do with the density of your boobs or what, or if you're just your mammogram tech was just rough. I don't know. Mine was a diagnostic, and it was 3D, so maybe that had something to do with it. They didn't have to press so hard. Technology is better these days. I don't know, but it was not a big deal at all. So please, if it is time for you to go to get your mammogram, go get it. Just go get it. So we did that, and then we did the ultrasound. So ultrasound is an ultrasound. If you've had kids, you know what an ultrasound is. And they went all over, and she's measuring and clicking and typing and all the things, lots of pictures. And then they put me in a little conference room to wait. So it was a diagnostic mammogram. When you do a regular screening, you go home and it's, a couple weeks they call you and say, hey, everything's fine or whatnot. But a diagnostic mammogram, the radiologist looks at it while you're there, and then they can give you their first impressions while you're there at the appointment. So I sit in a little room to wait for the radiologist to look at my images, and the mammogram tech comes back in. She says the radiologist has looked, she wants us to take a few more pictures. So we go back in, smaller trays, more focused, right, on certain spots, and then they put me back to wait again. Then the ultrasound tech comes back in and says, radiologist wants to take a second look. Come on back, we're gonna do some more ultrasound pictures. So we go in and she gets the ultrasound machine back up, takes a few more pictures, and the radiologist comes in to look for herself. And they talk back and forth a little bit, which seems a little fishy to me. And then she says, okay, I'll talk to her. I said, oh. So I sit up. Everybody gets quiet. There's 3 people in the room. She stares me square in the face and she says, you have a 3-centimeter mass that is suspicious, and I'm recommending a biopsy guided by ultrasound. You also have calcifications that are suspicious, and I am recommending a biopsy guided by ultrasound. Because of your age and the things that we found, I'm also recommending a breast MRI. And just the way that she said that to me, I just knew. One of those gut feelings, I just knew it wasn't going to be good. So I left that day. That day was probably my hardest day because I knew. So I cried most of the way home. I was by myself, no big deal, it's just a mammogram. I didn't think anything of it. But I cried most of the way home, and I had to go home and then go to my mom's birthday party. And I had been talking about doctor's appointments and asking her about her doctor and stuff to be able to go see her doctor. And so she was suspicious already because I don't go to the doctor. We don't do that at our house. So to have all these appointments, like, she knew. So she, as soon as I walked in the door at her house, she's like, okay, tell me the truth. What's really going on? How are you really for real? And so, so any of you know my mother, that was it. And grandma was there too, because it was a birthday party. So the cool thing is I only had to share once. I had mentioned it to Dave, but it was literally go home, get everybody in the car and leave. So we didn't get to really talk about it a whole lot. But again, it was just one more test, right? So nothing had been diagnosed or anything yet, but it was another test. So this is March 3rd. I just told them, I said, yep. So I had a mammogram and ultrasound today. I have a lump in my chest, and they are recommending 2 biopsies and an MRI. So we go to get those scheduled, and I tried to schedule my biopsies at the same place that I had just gone. It was a great center. The ladies were great. Mammogram, they do all the things, and they usually do biopsies there as well. But I got my MRI done first. So they scheduled my MRI, and they said, we'll do your MRI first, and then the radiologist will want to look at the results of the MRI before we schedule the biopsy. I'm like, all right, fine. So another week goes by, and on March 10th, I have my MRI. Now, if you've had an MRI before, usually you lay on the table and they slide you into the big machine and it makes lots of noise. But a breast MRI, you lay on your stomach, and there are holes in the table for your girls to fall into. And then you put your arms up over your head, and then you slide in backwards that way. They put headphones because it's very loud. And I had contrast, so they had put an IV in before I went in. And they put you in, they play some radio on your headphones, and you just lay as still as possible. A lot of people have a hard time with it. I didn't find any problem with it. I tried to just kind of relax and take a nap and think of the noise as like white noise. Listen to the radio and just try to chill out. When they put the contrast in, so that I was nervous about, the contrast, so they can see the difference and stuff lights up or whatever. That I was nervous about, and it turned out not to be too big a deal, but I did feel like my lips and my teeth, almost like when you get Novocaine initially, or when it's like starting to wear off, it kind of felt like that for a minute. It was really strange. But other than that, I didn't really feel anything. So that was good. So MRI all done. Now I got to wait for results. So, more waiting. And then another week goes by and I finally get a call from the scheduling nurse at the center to schedule my biopsies, only there's a problem. So on my MRI, the radiologist decided that there are now 3 biopsies that they want to do. They found another area of concern, which I found out later was my lymph node that was abnormal. So now we have 3 biopsies we need to schedule. And the problem is one of them needs to be stereotactic. Stereotactic biopsy is guided by mammogram rather than ultrasound. And the center that I had been going to does not have that machine. So I need to find a new place to go do these biopsies and just have all 3 done in the same place. So more waiting. We have to get my records sent over. Long story short, we finally get my biopsy scheduled. I have my biopsies on March 24th. So I find the lump on February 2nd. I have my first appointment on February 28th, mammogram on March 3rd, and my biopsies are not until March 24th. So I go in, they do the stereotactic one first, and it's, again, you lay on your stomach, boob hangs through the hole, and it's like a mammogram machine underneath. So they like put compression underneath, and then the machine locates the spot, and they take pictures along the way to make sure they're getting what they need. They numb you up, so they give you the lidocaine, local. And so that shot, is a little bit of a stingy, kind of like when you get Novocaine for your teeth, a little bit of bee sting, and then it goes away once it kicks in. And then after that, I didn't feel anything. So it wasn't too bad. I just kind of laid there while they did their thing. The noises can be a little bit nerving just because everything is just loud. The machine that they use, so after they numb you, they have a coring needle. So that needle goes in, they find the spot and they trigger it. And when it triggers, I swear it sounds like a Nerf gun. You guys, I have boys. So to me, it sounds like a Nerf gun shooting. And so it's just really loud, but you don't feel anything. So do not be scared of your biopsy, please. If you have to have one, it's not scary. It's a little scary going in just because it's unknown, but I promise it wouldn't hurt. And if it does hurt, tell them, they'll give you more medicine. It won't hurt. So just relax. Don't let the noises freak you out. So they get their samples and then I sit up, and I was a little woozy just because I'd had my arm and my neck was like stiff and I'd laid there for a while. So after they do the biopsy, they have to hold pressure for 10 minutes so you don't bleed all over the place. So I'm laying there for quite some time. Then I get up and we go back into the ultrasound room. They do a full ultrasound. And so while they were doing the ultrasound, she gets up to find the radiologist. The radiologist is the one that does the biopsies, and she comes in to look for herself, which tells me again, something is not quite right. So she's looking, she's clicking and typing as they do on ultrasound. And finally she puts down the transducer and looks me in the eye. And she says to me, "If this is cancer, do you want to save your breast?" And I said, "Well, that is a good question." And I'm thinking to myself, not a question I anticipated answering today. I was not prepared to answer that question on that day. I was trying to take this whole thing one step at a time, and that's not the step we were on. But it was a real question. She said, "If you would like to try to save your breast," and she said try, there are 2 or 3 other masses that we would need to biopsy so that she could rule them out or confirm them. If it's cancer and I chose to do a lumpectomy versus a mastectomy, then they pull out all of the masses that are cancerous. Well, they've got to test the masses to know if they're cancerous or not. And I had several more that we had not identified yet. And so if I was going to try to save it, I would need to test these as well. And I said to her, "I feel like I got a lot of stuff going on." So now I've got this large mass, which, by the way, when I had my mammogram measured by ultrasound. On March 3rd, she measured it at 3 centimeters. And today at the biopsy appointment, I read the report, so I know they were measuring it at 5 centimeters. So this one is growing very large. And so now I have these calcifications that they found on the mammogram, and then they have the lymph node that they found on the MRI. And now I have several more masses that she's wanting to test or needing to test if I want to try to save my breast. And so I said to her, I said, I feel like I got a lot of stuff going on. She goes, yep, you do. And I said, I'm not interested in nitpicking all this little stuff and thinking in my head, there's not gonna be much left if they're gonna pull all this stuff out. So I'm like, no. She's like, okay. And so she said, we'll do the 3 today and we'll go from there. I said, okay, so that sounds good. So she continued and did the other 2 biopsies. Same procedure, except this time instead of laying face down, I'm on a normal ultrasound, and she uses the ultrasound to look and make sure she's getting the spots. Needle, cord the samples, chung, 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 like a stapler, only it's not. I swear it sounds like a Nerf gun. Pressure, they held pressure so that I don't bleed all over the place, and put on some steri strips and sent me home. That was it. I was sore for a few days, bruised and sore, but other than that, it was fine. And then I wait for results. Now, results are tricky. They tell you 5 to 10 days, and now I know why. But I have people in the industry who have told me, now 2 days you should have results. I'm like, okay. So I'll start calling on Tuesday, because this was a Thursday, so I figured I'd give them, nothing's going to happen over the weekend. I'll give them until Tuesday, and I'm going to start calling my doctor's office to see if my results are in. So I call on Tuesday, and she puts me on hold for a very long time and comes back and says, they are here. I can schedule you. I said, great. She says, I can schedule you for a telehealth next Tuesday. I said, you're kidding me, right? You have my biopsy results. You know if I have cancer or not in your hand. And you want me to wait until next Tuesday, a whole week, wondering? I don't think so. No. So I might have cried to her on the phone, and she said, I'm sorry. And so I decided, you know what if I just request my records? I'm just going to go request them and get a copy of it for myself. I had finagled a copy of my mammogram results and my MRI results, and so why not grab a copy of my biopsy results and find out for myself? So I went on a mission. I called the hospital and I said, how do I request records? And they told me that it's faster if you come in. I said, okay, I'm there. So I told Dave, I said, I'm going for a ride. And I drove to the hospital and I found the records office and I handed them my form. And she said, oh, just have a seat. I'll be right there. It'll be done in just a minute. I'm like, are you kidding me? Is it that easy? No, it's not. So she came back and said, oh, well, you didn't have procedure here. You had it at a different center, so you've got to go there. I was like, oh my gosh, because now it's 4:10 and they close at 4:30. So I zoom over to the other place. I go back into the breast center where I had my biopsies done. I'm the only one. There's one lady in the waiting room and one lady in reception. So I come to her. I said, how do I get my records? How do I request them? She's like, oh, you do that here. I said, great. Here's my form. She's like, oh, let me print that out for you. So she prints me some pages. And I don't look at them. I'm going to go to my car and read them by myself. So I go into the car and I look, and it's the reports of the procedure from the radiologist. So this is what we did. This is what I think. And in that report, the radiologist says, I don't believe this candidate is likely for a breast conservation surgery, which means she thinks I'm going to have a mastectomy. Now, I forgot to mention, on my mammogram report back on March 3rd, that report said I had a BI-RAD score of 5. So when you get a mammogram, they give you a scale of 0 to 6. 0 means there's nothing there, everything's great, come back, regular screenings. A 1 or a 2 says, check this, maybe we'll check it a little sooner, we'll keep our eye on it. A 3 means it's suspicious and they probably will order some other tests. 4, again, very suspicious, likely going to have a biopsy, probably having a biopsy. And the percentage of whether or not it will be cancerous is higher. So it's like 50% or something. BI-RAD score of 5 is 95% chance it's cancer. 6 just means they've confirmed it with a biopsy. So 5 is as high as you can get, 95% chance it's probably cancer. It's basically them telling you have cancer without having the lab result to confirm it. That's all it is. So I had seen that I had a BI-RAD 5 on my report. So I knew that. And yeah, so that's why I kind of knew. But so I got these reports from the breast center where I got my biopsies done, but it said pathology pending. And I went, this does not, I was there. I know what this says. I know what happened. I need the rest of it. So I go back in and I asked her, like, this doesn't have the pathology. How do I get that? And she says, well, you'll have to get that from your doctor. And I said, well, my doctor, I've tried that already. My doctor wants me to wait till next Tuesday, and that's not okay. So I left there crying and I went home and I had a meltdown, and Dave put me back together. The next day we went to, so this is Wednesday after my biopsy. Biopsy was on Thursday. This is Wednesday, so almost a full week. And we went to my grandmother's house. My aunt's birthday was that day. So we were going over to celebrate her birthday. So I have my mom and my aunt and my grandmother. And if you know any of them, they were not having it. And so I had already called the doctor's office again that morning to see if there were some other options and if I could convince them to move up my appointment. But I was so like over it all. So I had my mom call, and she stood on hold for like 2 hours trying to get through. We decided to go drive there. We drove all the way back to my house and then halfway to the doctor's office before somebody answered the phone finally. And she got a nurse on the phone and told her that my results were there and that this was a serious situation and that she needed to show those results to the doctor so the doctor could say what to do next. And so the nurse promised to do that. And I got a call that night that said, the doctor wants to see you tomorrow at 1. So I said, okay, here we go. So they didn't tell me my results on the phone, which means what I already knew. So we go in the next day and the doctor confirmed. So I have my first biopsy was the calcifications that they found on the mammogram. And that was determined to be DCIS, they call it. That's the common term. It's ductal carcinoma in something. Basically, it's sort of like pre-cancer, they call it. The cancer cells are there, but they are encapsulated. So they haven't started to grow and flourish yet. They're just kind of there sitting tight. They're sort of sleeping. So should you leave that in, it could eventually wake up and hatch, right, and start growing. So I had that ductal carcinoma encapsulated in those calcifications. The second biopsy was my large mass, the 5-centimeter mass, and that was confirmed to be invasive mammary carcinoma. Now, usually it's ductal or lobular. Mine was called mammary, and what I looked up was that mammary is just in a non-specific. So it's just in the mammaries. So I have that, and it's grade 3. The grade of your breast cancer is how fast is it growing. So 1 is growing very slowly, 2 is kind of a little faster, 3 is like the faster growing one. Goody. And then my lymph node was also confirmed to be the same. So the same invasive mammary carcinoma, grade 3. And both of those were triple negative. So they also test your samples for the receptivity of hormone. So what I've learned is there's lots of different kinds of cancer, lots of different kinds of breast cancer, and the kind of cancer and the different elements that you have dictate what kind of treatment. Not everybody gets chemo. Not everybody has surgery. Not everybody gets immunotherapy. Not everybody gets hormones. It depends on the type of cancer that you have and what receptors your specific cancer has. So it could be estrogen receptive, progesterone receptive, or what's called HER2. So those 3 they test for, and depending on which one you have, different treatments could work. So if you have estrogen receptive breast cancer, they can give you hormone therapy that knocks out your estrogen, and that way the cancer can't grow, right? So that is one treatment option that they have. Mine were all 3 negative. So when they're all 3 negative, sometimes one is less option for treatments, so chemo's likely. And it sometimes can be stubborn, so that'll be fun to find out if it's stubborn or not. Surgery likely, because I have so much going on in there. And then they generally do radiation after surgery, because after surgery, if there's anything floating around still, they want to kill it off so it doesn't have time to regrow. So that is likely. So my next steps. So that was my diagnosis, and honestly, I took it pretty calm. My mother did not take it calm, and my grandmother is not okay. But I was okay. I was okay because I expected it, and I'd been sitting with it for a month. I kind of knew, you know, my gut, my knowing. If anybody knows Jamie Kern-Lima, my knowing knew that this was coming, and so almost I was grateful to just kind of get things rolling. So, yeah. So that's that. I've been doing a lot of research, and one of the coolest things that has come out of this is cool. Like it's just, it is what it is, guys. It's relative, okay? The breast cancer community is amazing. It's amazing. And the support that you get when you start to share your story is absolutely amazing. So thank you to all of you that have commented or sent me messages. I've gotten more messages in the last 3 days than I have in years. And so it's really nice to hear from people and know that people care and that people are watching and paying attention and, you know, care about what's happening to you. That's really cool. I've also reached out myself to a lot of friends that I know have gone through this before. Many of you know that my Scentsy business has been a part of my life for a very long time. I started my Scentsy business back in 2011, and that community of strong, goal-oriented, powerful, strong women who get stuff done, right? That's who we are, and we're a family in Scentsy and supportive of each other. There's not a competition there like there may be in other places, and so that community is amazing. And I knew of several Scentsy sisters who had gone through, so I reached out to them, and they were awesome. They're like, I got you. Anything you need, any questions you have, let me tell you what I learned. Let me tell you some tips that helped me. This is what I had. This is what worked. It was great. So I have them in my corner. Funny enough, the same day, another Scentsy sister posted in one of our leader groups that she was diagnosed the same day I was. So my new friend Abby and I have been chatting a lot because we are starting our journey together, and we'll go through this together. And so that's really kind of nice to have that support and connection along the way. Somebody who understands what's happening. As well, we found out all of these women have been touched and experienced, you know, this journey and have such wealth of knowledge to share, and tips and support and evidence of success. And that, I think, has been the biggest thing, is seeing so many women who have been through and are now thriving and have wonderful lives, healthy, happy, strong, thriving women who have gone through it. And so, you know, there's that example of you can get through and it's fine, and it's just a blip that, you know, it sucks, but you just get through, and then you're actually probably stronger on the other side. So all of those examples, right, are there for us. And so we started a group. We started a group with our Scentsy sisters who have gone through cancer or are going through cancer. And so we are supporting each other. So that's been amazing too. So the support that's out there is unbelievable. Like, you can't even imagine until you're there. So I'm good for now. And I know that that's temporary. Nothing's happened yet. You know, as far as symptoms, I've had people ask me, like, how are you feeling? Are you okay? I'm fine. I'm good. I've been saying actually for months that I felt a little bit more tired than normal. And I just thought, well, I'm in my mid-40s. My hormones are starting to act up and I'm just tired, whatever. So whether that's related or not, I really don't know. My tumor has grown, and that's grown uncomfortable because it's so large. And it's tender when you like push on it, or it gets pushed or bumped or anything like that. It's a little achy. I get little zings. I call them little zings from time to time. But other than that, I'm fine. I'm good. I'm anxious to get started, because if this is going to be a thing, then let's just start, because the sooner we start, the sooner we get finished. We knock this out and get to move on. So if I got to do this stuff, then let's just do it, because y'all know that's how I roll. So I hate waiting for things. Like, what are we waiting for? Let's go. So my next steps, I have an appointment tomorrow with a surgeon here in Melbourne to discuss what they think I should do next. And then I have a second opinion on Tuesday next week at the Moffitt Cancer Center in Tampa. So Moffitt is top of the line national cancer center. So I've been very impressed with their service so far. They were able to get me a nurse navigator who sort of takes care of you. They only care for triple negative cancer patients. So she knows me and what I'm doing and going through and what I need. And so she will call me on Monday, make sure I'm prepared for my appointment. We'll travel to Tampa, and I will see both a surgeon who happens to be the head of the breast center at Moffitt. Hello, did I look out or what? And also they got me an appointment with a oncologist on the same day while I'm there. Hello, thank you very much. So I will go see both of them on Tuesday, and they will request all of my records, look over all my images, retest my samples, and tell me what they think. And so after that appointment, we will decide what we're going to do next, what plan of action we're going to take. And so that will be that. But it's been an interesting road. It feels like it's been so long, even though I'm just getting started. But again, the support has been amazing. I'm not scared anymore. When I first thought about everything that I was going to have to go through, it was a little overwhelming. I did start to listen to some podcasts, and I went too far. I went too far into the rabbit hole of podcasts and stories and information that I wasn't quite ready for. And so I had to pull back. I've pulled back a little bit. I still like information, but I don't need too much. And I think it's really important that I take this one step at a time. Right now, the step is to meet with those surgeons and see what they think so that I can make a decision, and then we can start. And whatever is first, whether it be surgery or chemo or whatever, I will tackle that. And then we'll tackle the next thing. So, but that's it. It's just a thing that we've got to go through. And I'm so grateful for the women that have shared their journeys and who are just strong examples of what's possible. So I see you all on Facebook sharing your stories and your videos and your pictures, and I'm so grateful for your sharing your journey and not being afraid to put your face out there, even if you maybe don't feel like you look your best, because it's inspiring to those of us who are getting started on this journey, showing us that you can still live life and be full of life even though all this stuff is happening, and that you're going through all these treatments and whatnot. So you can still be out doing and exploring and hiking and working. Women work through their treatments. Like, they work full time, even though they're doing, it's not like, I don't know about you guys, but all of my examples of people going through chemo or just images or beliefs about chemo and cancer treatments are just so like awful. They're sick. You're a sick person. You're in bed. You're miserable, awful. And I see so many examples of the opposite of that. Not that it won't be awful, but that it's not impossible. And so that gives me confidence and strength. And I know I'm strong and I can do anything I put my mind to. So it's just something I'm going to do. And it's going to suck, but I'll get through it. And then, like I said, I'll be stronger on the other side. And hopefully sharing my journey and these stories will give someone else hope and confidence and inspire them to be okay when they go through their journey. Because the statistics are 1 in 8, guys. It's a lot of women. It's a lot. I don't know why that number doesn't spark some sort of movement for us to figure out why it's 1 in 8 and do something about it, because it's a lot of women that go through this. A lot. You probably know more people than you think that have been through cancer treatments, and you just don't know it. I was shocked at some of the people that come out of the woodworks and have been like, oh, I'm 2 years cancer free. I'm 5 years cancer free. I'm like, how did I not know this? And you just don't. It's a lot of women. 1 in 8 is a big number. And so think about choices you make for your life. Get your screenings. You know, look at products that you use. Look at the foods that you're eating. Foods, nutrition, sugar makes a difference. Cancer is fueled by sugar. It eats sugar. So if you're living on sugar all day long, you're not helping your chances. Exercise. Breathe. Get rid of stress in your life. It's just not worth it. So go be healthy. I'm going to go finish watching Christopher's baseball practice. He's out there now. And I will keep you guys updated on my appointments, let you know what they think I should be doing. And then we'll get the show on the road. So have a great rest of your week. See y'all soon.